Basically, he came with his criticism and didn't know how to handle it, right? And he was getting upset about it. That's it. What's up, guys? Firstly, listen, apologies for the audio. My microphone has just disappeared. I don't know what's happened to it. It's just up and disappeared. It's a mystery. I think my 3-year-old probably hid it somewhere or thrown it away, whatever. Anyway, I think it was a little bit broke. So I've ordered a new one. So if the audio is not as good, I apologize, but bear with me on this one. I want to keep the content going until it arrives. So yeah, mental health, I think we talk about it too much in society. You hear this all the time in Western media today. Mental health, we need to talk more about mental health. It's a taboo to talk about mental health. It isn't, because it's everywhere, right? And you know it and you've seen it, the discussion around it. And I think this is my most unpopular opinion. Probably maybe even most controversial opinion, because even in the men's self-improvement side of things, it's still spoken about quite a lot, and I think we talk about it too much. So my reasons for that: why do I think it's spoken about too much? Now, there's a well-known phenomena in media, and every media company and newspaper and news station, they all know this, and that is, the more you talk about something, the more it actually happens. So the more it's presented in the news, let's say knife crime is amongst young teenagers, the more they present that in the media, in the news, the more it actually ends up happening. So I see this happening. I see we're talking about it more, and so it's happening more. Right? More people getting mental health and having mental health problems because it's discussed about so much. Now, one of the big factors for this is because we are lowering the bar on what is a mental health problem. Okay, the definition of mental health issue has been stretched so much that, like I said, the bar is low, and people are saying they have mental health problems, self-diagnosing themselves, when in reality they just having a bad day and don't know how to deal with it. Now, I'll give you an example of this with some famous people, some athletes that I was paying attention to. So there was a footballer who played for the England national team in the European Championships last summer. And he played in the European Championships, and he played the first game of the tournament. He wasn't the regular pick, and he played the first game, and he didn't have a good game, and he came with some criticism. Now, fast forward a few weeks, and he did an interview, and he said, "My mental health took a dive during the tournament." I was like, okay, all right. And I read the article, and he explained how when he played the game and afterwards he came in for a lot of criticism, and his mental health took a dive after that. And for me, this is a clear example. Reading through the lines of what he's saying and what he's not saying, he didn't say he had anything diagnosed. He didn't say he went to see professional help and they gave him a diagnosis and none of that. No, he just says his mental health took a dive. Okay. And basically what he was saying really was, because he made a full recovery, he said he was fine, he said he's not suffering from everything now. Basically, he came with his criticism and didn't know how to handle it, right? And he was getting upset about it. That's it. Okay, time passed and he was okay. England got to the final. I don't think he played another game. He got to the final, the season started again. He was regular in his first team. Life is good again, right? That's not a mental health problem. It's not my mental health taking a dive. No, it was just, you were a bit upset, you were a bit sad about it. But because there's this whole furor about mental health and this discussion around it, oh, I'm sad, so it must be mental health. I'll give you another example. There was a tennis player, and he was climbing up the rankings, and he got to around about 110 in the world. As a tennis player, that's an excellent ranking, okay? Maybe for people who are only watching other top tournaments, Grand Slams, Wimbledon, etc., you wouldn't know who he is. But it's very good, very respectable ranking. And he hit around 110, and then he sort of plateaued for a little bit. And then his results started taking a negative turn, and he started sliding down the rankings. Now, he did an interview, again, fast forward, he did an interview, and he said, I nearly retired because of my mental health problems. So, well, okay. And I looked into it and I read the article, and he explained how he was getting these bad results and then his mental health took a dive. And this is where I know this is bullshit. This is where I know that he's not suffering from some mental health problems here, diagnosis. He went to see a life coach. Guys, my wife's a psychologist, okay? A life coach is not qualified to diagnose you with a mental health problem. Firstly, they're not qualified to do that. They can't diagnose you with something. Secondly, they probably would, and even if you had a diagnosable mental health problem, anxiety, depression, whatever it was, they wouldn't be qualified to pull you out of that hole. I'm sure they wouldn't have the resources, the knowledge to do that. But that was a big red flag. Again, it was just someone who, plateaued in their career a little bit, went backwards, wasn't going for a good time, couldn't quite handle it, couldn't quite think, he was getting upset about it. I don't think he didn't say he was diagnosed with anything. He didn't say he was continuing to live with this problem, because usually when someone has legitimate mental health problems, it's not something you really get rid of, it's just something you end up living with. You're getting better at living with it. So again, it's people jumping on this bandwagon of the mental health crisis, blah, blah, blah. And don't get me wrong, there is a mental health crisis. And especially, I believe amongst men, how much, 80% of suicides are men, and everything with Corona and happening, and the lockdowns, and now the financial crisis which is going on, rapid inflation, you name it, it is getting worse and worse. But I don't think we should be talking about it as much as we are, because like I said, I've made the points that I think it makes it worse. I think it lowers the bar. People they feel sad, they feel down, they're not happy with their life is, and they go, oh, you know what, I'm depressed. They self-diagnose themselves. I've got a mental health problem, my mental health is suffering. When in reality, it's just like, no, you're going through something, you're going through a little bit of a tough time, you're a bit sad, you're not quite sure how to change things around. You should be, maybe you have to take more responsibility. Maybe you need to develop a little bit more mental resilience. Maybe you need to accept harder times. These harder times are going to come. There's going to be times in your life where things are difficult, where things don't go your way. You have to work your way through that. Go through a breakup. You're going to be sad and depressed about it. Time will heal. That's not you're not going through depression, right? And this is where it leads to this incessant conversation around it. The bar gets lowered. Everyone starts thinking they're suffering mental health problems because they're sad and going through a little something. And really, it's the mental health problem is a lack of resilience. And I'm not disparaging people here with legitimate problems. Okay, do not get this confused. If you're really suffering, and this is again why I know like a lot of these people that talk about it's bullshit, because people who are actually suffering, who really do have problems, they often don't talk about it. They're ashamed, they're embarrassed. People that really struggling, people that really think about suicide, they don't let people know. How many times you heard about it, right? Someone kills himself and they say, oh, I had no idea he was struggling. It's the ones that just talk about it and write a Facebook post about, oh, my anxiety, I've got this and that. They're the ones that I think to myself, maybe you don't. Maybe you're just looking for some attention here and some sympathy. And this is hard. Maybe that sounds harsh. Like I said, if you're really genuinely struggling, go and seek professional help. Don't just start talking about it on social media and to everyone and self-diagnose yourself and say you've got mental health problems. Go and seek a professional psychologist, someone who can really help you, really knows what they're doing. But what we do is when we talk about it so much, and the way that they are in the media now and online, it may, like myself, I question people who do come out and say it, and I probably question people that had legitimate problems. But for sure, some people have spoken about it and I've questioned. I've hit the nail on the head. I don't think that they don't have any problems. And I speak from some experience. I'm not going to go into what exactly I suffered from. It wasn't anything crazy hardcore. But I live with some things, and on a regular basis. I'm coming from a level of experience here, and now I've also witnessed some real legitimate depression and seen and know people that have committed suicide, seen what that is like. Maybe that's why it really annoys me. So maybe some things have to be taboo. Some conversations have to be a little bit. And I think maybe mental health is one of those. But if you're suffering, the conversation should be, look, if you're suffering, seek professional help. It shouldn't be, if you're suffering, let's go talk about it, get it off our chest and write it on social media. Because, there's not much evidence to suggest that holding things in create these problems. A lot of discussion around that, especially among mental health. The reason why men are suffering is because they don't talk about things. There's no evidence to suggest that them not talking about their feelings leads to a depression or anxiety. Talk about it. Tell someone, if you're really suffering, tell someone close to you you're suffering. This is happening, and seek out the professional advice. Don't leave it at just someone who's close to you. You've got to seek professional advice. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. I don't know. A very unpopular opinion, I'm sure. I would really, really love to know your thoughts on this one. Do you agree? Do you agree we talk about it too much in media? Do we, have we overblown it? Have we set the bar too low? Or do you think we actually need to speak about it more? Whatever, just let me know, guys. Comment. Okay, I reply to every one of you. I'd love the discussions around these videos. I'll sort out the microphone for the next video. And remember, embrace the struggle.